Reba McEntire's journey into country music began with a deep love for the rodeo and a desire to become a world champion barrel racer. Born on March 28, 1955, in McAlester, Oklahoma, Reba grew up surrounded by the rodeo world. Her father, Clark McEntire, was a champion steer roper, but despite his success, the family didn't live luxuriously. They had to work hard just to make ends meet, with Reba helping out on the family's 7,000-acre ranch. Music was always a part of her life, thanks to her mother, Jacine, who had dreams of being a singer. She passed on her passion for music to her children, especially during the long rides to rodeo events. Those family sing-alongs would be the foundation of Reba's remarkable career in country music. The start of a legendary career. Reba's career took off during her teenage years when she and her siblings formed a singing group called the Singing McEntires. Their first public performance came at a 4-H talent show, where they won first place. This early success marked the beginning of Reba's journey in music, which would later transform her into one of country music's most beloved stars. As she grew older, Reba became known for singing the national anthem at rodeo events, and it was during one of these performances in 1974 that she was noticed by country singer Red Steagall. After the event, he offered to help her launch her career in Nashville, and in March 1975, Reba and her mother moved to the city, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Nashville's challenges and early struggles. Reba's arrival in Nashville was far from easy. They had very little money, and the city's music scene proved to be more challenging than expected. With Red Steagall's help, Reba signed her first record deal with Mercury Records, but her debut single, I Don't Want to Be a One-Night Stand, failed to chart. Over the next several years, Reba released albums and singles that did not perform well, leading to a lot of frustration. Financial struggles compounded the stress, as Reba had to perform at small clubs for as little as $50 a night to cover her bills. Despite these setbacks, Reba stayed determined and focused on her goal of becoming a successful country artist. Her perseverance was about to pay off, but not without a few more challenges. Breakthrough with Can't Even Get the Blues. In 1983, after years of struggling, Reba McEntire finally had her breakthrough moment. Her single Can't Even Get the Blues became her first #1 hit. Reba had fought hard to record the song, despite her producer's doubts about it fitting her style. The song's success marked a turning point in her career, showing that Reba could handle upbeat material and solidifying her place in the country music world. In 1984, she took another bold step by leaving Mercury Records for MCA Records, where she would be given the freedom to choose her own songs. This decision paid off, as her album My Kind of Country was a hit, marking the beginning of a successful run that would define her career. Reba's rising star and changing image. From 1984 to 1987, Reba McEntire's star continued to rise. She released several successful albums, including Whoever's in New England, which helped her achieve 8 #1 singles. Reba's sound and image also evolved during this time. She embraced a more polished, sophisticated look, moving away from the traditional cowgirl image that had initially defined her. Her music videos and concerts became more theatrical, with elaborate performances that helped her stand out in a crowded country music landscape. By the late 1980s, Reba was not just a country singer, she was an entertainer, known for her powerful voice and captivating stage presence. The heartbreaking loss of band members. In 1991, tragedy struck Reba McEntire's life when a plane, carrying 7 of her band members and her tour manager, crashed, killing everyone on board. Reba had decided to stay behind due to illness, and her decision likely saved her life. The loss of her friends and colleagues was devastating, and it affected her deeply. However, Reba found a way to cope with the grief through her music. Just 6 months later, she released For My Broken Heart, an album that paid tribute to her lost band members and helped her process her emotions. The title track went to #1 on the country charts, and the album became a commercial success, solidifying Reba's place as a true country music legend. The red dress that stole the show. In 1993, Reba McEntire made headlines once again, but this time for a fashion choice that shocked the country music world. At the CMA Awards, Reba wore a daring red velvet dress with a plunging neckline and 2,000 crystals. The dress was unlike anything Reba had worn before, and it sent shockwaves through Nashville. The reaction was mixed. Some praised her boldness, while others criticized her for stepping outside the traditional country mold. Despite the controversy, Reba's popularity only continued to grow. The dress became iconic, symbolizing Reba's ability to push boundaries and redefine the image of country music's leading lady. Tanya Tucker's public insult. Despite her grace and professionalism, Reba McEntire's career has not been without its betrayals. One of the most painful moments came in 2014 when Tanya Tucker publicly humiliated Reba. At a tribute event honoring female country singers, Reba was notably absent, and when fans asked why, Tanya publicly responded with, "Not everyone gets an invite to the party." This comment reduced Reba's decades of contributions to country music to something trivial, and it was a betrayal that Reba never forgave. Tanya's words were cruel because they were intentional, meant to diminish Reba's significance. For Reba, this was not just a professional slight, it was a personal attack, and she cut all ties with Tanya from that point on. Vince Gill's silent betrayal. Another painful moment in Reba's career came in 2001 during the CMA Awards, when Vince Gill replaced her in a scheduled duet. Reba had rehearsed for the performance and was prepared to take the stage, but hours before the final run-through, her name was removed from the set list. Vince performed the duet alone, and what made the situation worse was the silence that followed. Vince never called to explain or apologize. Reba later said, "The silence was louder than any insult, because it showed a lack of respect." For Reba, the betrayal wasn't just being replaced, it was being replaced without explanation, without acknowledgement, and without a chance for reconciliation. Travis Tritt's quiet erasure. Travis Tritt's role in Reba McEntire's life was marked by quiet, behind-the-scenes betrayals. In the early 2000s, Reba was invited to participate in a high-profile country music project celebrating the genre's legacy. However, when the final lineup was released, Reba's name was conspicuously absent. It was later revealed that Travis Tritt had objected to her inclusion, believing that the project should remain focused on male artists. This decision hurt Reba, but what stung even more was the silence that followed. There was no explanation, no apology, and no direct communication. The lack of transparency and respect made the betrayal all the more painful for Reba. A disrespectful tribute to Naomi Judd. In May 2022, Reba experienced another betrayal during the memorial honoring Naomi Judd. Naomi had been a close friend and peer, and Reba was deeply invested in the tribute. However, less than 24 hours before the event, Reba's role in the program was quietly reduced. The change was made without any direct communication, and Reba only learned about it through an updated rundown sent to her team. It became clear that there were tensions between Reba and certain figures at the Grand Ole Opry, and those tensions resurfaced at the worst possible time. Reba still performed with grace and restraint, but she left the event afterward, signaling that the trust had been broken. Garth Brooks and the Broken Promise. The final betrayal on Reba McEntire's list came from Garth Brooks in the early 2000s. The two had discussed a co-headlining tour, and Reba made room in her schedule for the opportunity. However, without any explanation, the tour was announced, and Reba's name was nowhere to be found. Garth had shifted the tour's focus, and Reba was blindsided. The damage wasn't just professional, it was personal. Reba felt exposed and disrespected, and the lack of communication left a deep scar. For Reba, this incident taught her to never rely on trust alone again, and to always ensure that agreements were backed by solid contracts. Reba's quiet revolution. Despite the betrayals she faced throughout her career, Reba McEntire has never publicly lashed out at those who hurt her. Instead, she chose to remember the lessons learned from each incident. She stopped trusting handshakes and started relying on contracts. She stopped interpreting silence as respect and began valuing clear communication. Through it all, Reba has maintained her dignity, protected her legacy, and quietly rewritten the rules of how she trusts Nashville's power players. Her strength lies not in confrontation, but in her ability to rise above and redefine how she interacts with an industry that often takes its legends for granted.